Okay, so today I wanted to go over some determinatives in Middle Egyptian. And determinatives are signs at the end of the word that give you an idea of what that word's about. And for example, in English, if we wrote like this, and we had things like which is which, and if they were all spelled the same way, you might have something like a broom at the end of one word. We might have a question mark at the end of another word. Yeah, to kind of differentiate between things that sound the same. And it doesn't even need to sound the same in Egyptian. It could just be, well, there can be similarities between words, but they really just wanted to stress, well, actually, who knows why they did it, actually. And I just said actually twice in the same word. So we'll start with the first one. The first one you've already seen, and it's a symbol for man, and this is my simple way of drawing it out as if I was writing my own notes, so it would be a little more elaborate in Egyptian. He would probably have a torso, yeah, more than that, and maybe an eye, and probably a longer wig. So this is also present in the word for man, or used to make up the word for man, and can stand alone as the word for man sometimes. But this is put at the end of words that have to do with people, or can stand at the end of words as a pronoun, which means me or mine, but that's getting into something else. But yeah, words having to do with people. So if there was a word such as book or scholarly or something like that, if you put the man at the end of the word, then sometimes it could be interpreted as the word for scholar. That's not exactly drawn out of Egyptian, but you get what I mean. The next one, I messed up the hand a little, but the hand is aiming towards the face, the front hand, whereas this one there kind of loose. The man is sitting. And this goes at the end of words that have to do with things about eating or consuming. I thought that was pretty interesting. And here, this one has to do with, and pardon the wig, this one has to do with being tired or weary. So as opposed to the first guy who's sitting up straight, one leg is sort of, one foot's on the ground so he'd be ready to get up at any moment and his arms are free. This one, the arms are drawn out to the side as if he's leaning on them. One leg is forward, he's much more relaxed and tired. Pretty simple. The next one is with a basket on the head and one hand steadying that. Has to do with to carry, to lift, and that's pretty straightforward. Yeah. Then we have, oops, two that look similar, aside from the fact that I drew one of the heads twice. One is the symbol for official, and it's a man standing straight with a kilt that juts out a little bit more in the front, which I'll talk about in a future video. It's kind of extra pleats, we'll say. And he's holding a staff straight up. Bear with that, ignore that second head there. Straight up, standing strong. That's at the end of words for official, or things like vizier, or official titles that you'd see in the royal court. Here you see an older man leaning forward. His upper body is sort of bending forward as if he's really depending on the staff, and that has to do with age, being old. Pretty simple. The determinative at the end of the word for child is a young child sitting with legs dangling and one hand to the mouth, and if you look at the way they've drawn it, it's actually the pinky in the mouth, because the Egyptian children would suck their pinkies, not their thumbs. And he doesn't have a wig on, so he's bald. And I think if it's a royal child, if they're talking about Horus, he'll have a side lock of hair, so sort of like bald except for one little braid that they're letting grow out. And these are pretty simple. They go at the end of words having to do with movement. So this is the most common one, having to do with moving forward, venturing out. You'll see that in so many different words. And less common is the feet going backwards, which generally has to do with retracing steps, returning. It doesn't come up as often. And oftentimes when Egyptian symbols are drawn backwards, it has something to do, well, with something being weird or out of place. In the Book of the Dead, I think, or a pyramid text, they talk about a hell of a certain kind. And they don't actually call it hell, but where the faces are on backwards. And where people who end up having to walk backwards, and how weird and how odd that is. Anyway, now we get into the arms. You can see a few of them here, and I've actually missed one. Hopefully I'm going to draw it correctly. Cool. This is, oops, this is more correct. That's how I draw it. This is a few different things. This will be at the end of words having to do with force or with arms, but not necessarily too much force, like getting things done, I guess, or sometimes to carry. And it has a little crook in the elbow. The hand is outstretched and open with nothing in it. And it's most commonly seen as the ayin, which is drawn like this, which is a ha sound, and some people will transliterate that to be an A, but that's not the case. It's something like that, but it's something that English doesn't have. Over here, we have a hand with a bowl in it, and that's to offer, or, yeah, well, yeah, something like to offer in the sense of offerings, a little round bowl. And then here, we have another hand, and let me draw this again, and it's got a throwing stick or a weapon of some variety, which hooks backwards, yeah, like that. And that basically represents, or goes to the ends of words that have to do with battle, or weapons, or fighting, or things like that. And the one that I had missed was right here. And this can also be drawn like this, or like this. So this little extra triangle within the triangle is optional. And this one's really common. This is the shortcut, how they draw it if they're running out of space. This one is when it's fully drawn out. And that is the word. Well, it's at the end of words, but on its own it stands as the word ready, or D. And it's a very common verb to give something, to cause something, so something to happen, or to place something, whether it's an official placement of something or placing something on an altar. That one comes up a lot, especially at the beginning of stele and text for the dead. So if you're looking at something like a wall panel, you'll most likely see that combined with some other things. So I'll talk about that more later, but I wanted to show you some of the ways that the Egyptians used the hands to represent things, or feet, and different determinatives that represent things to do with mankind. Okay.